Drama bin drama, Arab drama, ole drama, side drama, zote pamoja. Ayayayayaya. Sheikh drama pia. A Kenyan who has been intimately involved with all major general elections in Kenya after the second liberation, a man called Jimmi Wanjigi, was recently hosted on a TV show. And my, oh my, did he spill beans or what? Now, I know Kenyans sometimes miss a lot of things in these talk shows. And it's not because they're slow. Kenyans are hard workers. Times are hard. You reach home exhausted, but you still want to take in a political show. So maybe you may even doze off slightly, and something passes you. But on today's show, don't worry if you missed something, because Jimmi Wanjigi explained a lot of mysteries in our country, which I want to explore on today's show. He revealed a lot about the SGR project and the way Kenyans were fleeced, taken to the dry cleaners, so to speak, over this particular project, giving even figures. He touched on Eurobond and explained, to those of us who missed it, exactly how the Eurobond fraud, haste, if you like, was executed. Indeed, reading between the lines with certain information, Jimmi Wanjigi even revealed to us the biggest political mystery of our time in the country called Kenya. And that is simply, why did the president fall out with his deputy? And another smaller mystery linked to this, but also important, why has the president not been able to politically finish off the deputy president with all the instruments of power he has and with all the techniques and strategies and plays that he can make as president of the Republic of Kenya? Indeed, it seems that many times when the deputy president has been cornered, the president has saved him. Like the time people were going all out for an impeachment, or the time people were going all out to remove the deputy president from the Jubilee Party. The president made the difference. He refused to sanction moves to finish off the deputy president. Now, for those of us who are keen observers, that small mystery has been a very deep, puzzling mystery. But reading between the lines of this landmark interview with Jimmi Wanjigi, who appeared on television in an interview like this for the first time in his life, reading between the lines, we can see a very plausible cause of the falling out of the president and his deputy. So karibu sana. Today's show is like a WAB. Oh yes, moto kama pasi ya makaa. So make sure you're seated comfortably. Get that cup of coffee or tea. Relax, sit back, and prepare yourself for a very wild ride. Okay? Now as you prepare your coffee and your tea, Let me unleash a joke from one of my favorite comedians in Kenya, Professor Hamo. Maybe one of the reasons why I have a weakness for this particular comedian is that he is very political, more political than most. And you know the issue the good professor touched on in this particular instance is a very painful issue in Kenya. Corruption. It is so painful. It has changed people's lives negatively. It has denied long-suffering Kenyans many things. You know, in Kenya we have an expression, utalia kwa choo. The way I interpret this expression is that something is so painful, something is so hard to take, you could cry all day, but everybody else, the fellow Kenyans, wanakaa ngumu. Therefore, of course, you are ashamed to shed tears in public. And so you make a quick dash to the nearest WC, washroom closet. You quickly shut the door behind you, na unalia zako zote. What? Now, as I've recommended many times on this channel, when things come up that should actually make you cry, yako yote, laughter is a good solution. You may be laughing bitterly, you may be laughing humorously, but you reduce the impact, the emotional impact of what you're discussing, which helps you look at the issue better, and in its correct perspective. Because emotions tend to cloud everything. When you put in a dose of laughter here and there, it becomes easier to take a hard punch. That is an issue in Kenyan politics. And most of the issues we are discussing today ni issues za kulia kwa choo. Now, according to the good professor, there's a very simple solution to corruption in Kenya. And that is, create a ministry of corruption. And this is the way this ministry works, according to the good professor. When you want to steal public funds, like many of our leaders do, most of our leaders do, you go to this ministry. And you tell the ministry, mimi nataka kufanya deal ya 20 billion. And the official at the ministry tells you, okay, lakini tafadhali chukua 10 billion peke yake. Hii yengine wachia wenzako. And then the corrupt official responds, apana, fanya 12 billion final figure. And then the official in the government says, apana, 11 million final price. Hii yengine wachia wenzako. Siwe peke yako. According to the good professor, this will save the country called Kenya a lot of money. Because at least there will be some control over corruption. Apana usichukue 20 billion, uwe chukua 10 billion. Hiyo wengine wachia wenzako. My sincere apologies if you didn't find that funny. Because I'm having a problem with my ribs, my poor ribs. Now let us quickly get down to business. Jimmi Wanjigi is vying for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. Hopefully on an ODM ticket, Orange Democratic Movement. Let us understand that as a rookie, a newcomer into politics, Jimmi Wanjigi is more equipped than a vast majority of newcomers would be. Because first of all, as we said earlier, he was involved very intimately in the 2002 presidential elections that brought the National Rainbow Coalition into power and removed the KANU government of Moi, and indeed the KANU party from power for the first time since independence. He was also very deeply involved in the 2013 presidential elections that brought Ruto into power and the Jubilee government. And then, of course, he was also very closely linked with the 2017 presidential elections, where he burst into national limelight. Yeah, but it all started with this association with Raila Amolo Odinga and NASA. Bwana Wanjigi even ran tallying centers, independent tallying centers for the presidency in 2013 and in 2017. If there's such a thing as a high table during a general election, Jimmi Wanjigi sat on it in both instances. That makes him one of the most experienced Kenyans in presidential elections. Jimmi Wanjigi is also a wheeler dealer who lands major government contracts. Now here there's a confusion, which I'm going to clear in a minute, because people always assume that the contract, the tender, is given to a company owned by Jimmi Wanjigi. No, there's nothing like that happens. I'll clear it in a second. Now historically, people who are businessmen, especially high-flying businessmen, tend to make very good presidents because they turn their countries. Let's just call this the enterprise called Kenya Limited. Yeah. They turn their countries of jurisdiction into an enterprise, and then they solve the problems of that enterprise in order to make it viable, profitable, prosperous. Yeah, just the way a businessman does with a business, which is different from what a career politician does. A career politician focuses on the politics. If they want to make a decision, they first of all look at it with political eyes. They don't know any other way. And as Bwana Wanjigi put it in this interview with Citizen TV, we live in extraordinary times where we need extraordinary solutions. And I agree with that 100%. Bottom line, this billionaire wheeler dealer indeed has impressive qualifications to run the country called Kenya. But first of all, let us understand completely how Jimmi Wanjigi got rich, how he became a billionaire. And to do this, let me borrow an excerpt from an earlier video I did around 2018 that explained this in simple language, standard 2, and also in great detail. Let's briefly listen in. Bwana Jimmi Wanjigi is a billionaire wheeler dealer. Now let us even get more specific, and find out how did Mr. Jimmi Wanjigi make his money. Now in 2013, it's widely known that Bwana Jimmi Wanjigi financed the Jubilee campaign, the successful Jubilee campaign for the presidency. It is said that he was the main man who brought President Uhuru Kenyatta and DP William Ruto together. Or rather, he played a very key role in that particular operation. And then he went ahead and financed that presidential election. Now, this move by Bwana Jimmi Wanjigi was strange. Why was it strange? It was strange because people who normally finance presidential elections do not lean very obviously to one side, for obvious reasons. You're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, you're not a politician. So what will happen if you lean too much towards one side and then the other side wins? You're done. You will have to endure a hostile government for the next 5 years. And the way politics works out in Kenya, actually for the next 10 years. Which means you're finished. You'll not be able to do your deals. What kind of deals? Wheeler dealers like Jimmi Wanjigi are people who we can also call facilitators. They don't own a big company or a big factory. They're just middlemen. They facilitate huge deals for a commission. So for instance, if you know that the government is going to order a large fleet of vehicles, you go and approach a company like Toyota, and you tell them, look, the government has a contract. I would like to be a consultant. I'm going to organize for you to get that particular contract, and in return, I want a 15% commission on the entire deal. So they accept, and you help them file the tender documents. You talk to your contacts here and there. And then when the tender is awarded to Toyota company, you get your commission. Now I've greatly simplified that, but I think it gives you an idea. Because people like Jimmi Wanjigi, for obvious reasons, will not get involved in a small deal. 15% of 10 million is 1.5 million. That's peanuts. Yeah, that's a small change. Characters like these get involved in deals worth billions. And so, it would make absolutely zero sense for a wheeler-dealer to support one side in an election that is supposed to be unpredictable. You don't know which side will win. Now, the long and short of what I'm trying to say is that by supporting Jubilee, Bwana Wanjigi knew what many Kenyans did not know. And that is, there was no way Jubilee were going to lose the elections. Let me just leave it at that. And in many ways, Wanjigi was perfectly positioned to know that, to get that kind of information, because a lot of his fortune was made during the Kibaki era, during the 10 years of Kibaki government. His connections and contacts within the Kibaki administration were impeccable. Yeah, they were excellent, very good. And so he had a lot of information. And so he did not have to do what people who finance presidential elections normally do, which is you finance both sides. You make hefty donations to both sides and stay completely out of the politics. But you make sure you know people on both sides of the political divide, so that whoever wins, you're okay to do your wheeler-dealer deals. Now, it would appear that in financing the Jubilee campaign in 2013, Bwana Wanjigi had made careful calculations where he would make a fortune by facilitating deals with a friendly government, a government that he had financed into power. And as the Jubilee government settled down to governing, there is evidence to suggest that companies associated, or rather deals associated with Bwana Wanjigi, several of them were lined up and in fact virtually sealed. And a few of them went through, small deals. By small, I mean single-digit billion shillings. But the major deals ran into problems. Bwana Wanjigi had made a deal with a company called Avic International Holding Corporation, which is a Chinese company, to do quite a number of deals. And this company won the tender, a tender worth 50 billion Kenya shillings, to upgrade the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The deal was called the Greenfield Terminal Project tender. Now, its commissions usually range from between 10 to 15%, sometimes even higher. But let us assume that it was only 10%. On 50 billion, that's already a commission of 5 billion Kenya shillings. Now, the Greenfield Terminal Project tender was not only won by this company associated to this entrepreneur, but it was even launched by the president on December 3rd, 2013. But even after being launched with a lot of fanfare, in April 2016, it was cancelled. There was another very big project, huge, colossal, and this is the SGR. Bwana Wanjigi also lost that one. The contract was awarded to somebody else. Now it is obvious that something had gone very wrong somewhere. Because if you lose one deal, that's a coincidence. If you lose a handful of deals, definitely kuna kitu, iko kitu. As Kenyans like to say, there's something. Now, interestingly, it is said that the person who was blocking Jimmi Wanjigi deals within the Jubilee government was the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. Although it doesn't really matter who was responsible, because the main issue here is that when you finance a presidential election, and by the way, it's not cheap, to finance a presidential campaign today, we are talking about tens of billions of Kenya shillings. Now, that's not small change. Even 1 billion shillings is an amount of money most Kenyans cannot even picture. For instance, how long would it take you to count 1 billion Kenya shillings? In 1,000 bob notes. Weeks, months, I think now you get the picture. But in 2013, for instance, it was estimated that each of the presidential candidates did not spend less than, wait for this one, 20 billion Kenya shillings each. And this amount did not include monies that were extended to other candidates, in order to make the coalition win resoundingly, like governors, legislators here and there, etc., etc. So 20 billion is really on the low side, but maybe it's a good figure to attribute to a major financier of the campaign, of a presidential campaign. Now, when you spend that kind of money and you get zero returns, or you get returns that are a fraction of what you spend, you can imagine what kind of mood you're going to be in. And this neatly explains why in 2017 we saw Bwana Jimmi Wanjigi jump ship very unexpectedly. Very many people are shocked. And he firmly supported and financed the NASA campaigns and became very close to Raila Odinga. So we now need to ask ourselves a question. What would have happened in 2017 if Raila Odinga had won the elections? I leave you to chew on that. However, there's a bigger question here. Going forward, what will happen? Because we are fighting corruption. We want a government that is lean, that spends taxpayers' money very well for the maximum benefit of the people of Kenya. So what will happen? Because future presidential campaigns will need to be financed. And Bwana Wanjigi is not the only financier of presidential elections. There are a handful of other people in the country that are capable of doing the same. So my question is, what will happen to the people of Kenya? Because the interests of these people can never be the same as the interest of the masses who elect presidents into office. Wah. Now, I've met Jimmi Wanjigi in person under the most fascinating circumstances. There was a time in another lifetime that I owned a very popular gutter press publication in Kenya. Evidence of its popularity is the fact that a major newspaper in Kenya got to a point where they felt so threatened by the kind of circulation sales I was doing that they started playing dirty. First of all, they sent cops to me to arrest me for running a publication that was not registered. But when they arrived, I had all my papers. And indeed, the publication was duly registered. But I must say that at that time I was a naive young man. I didn't understand a lot of things. I was a shallow person. Because when that first incident happened, I should have started being very alert. But instead, I relaxed. And the next move they made, this popular daily newspaper circulation department, finished me off completely. Which is a story for another day. Anyway, one day, I happened to visit one of the vendors who was doing a lot of sales on my behalf of my publication on the streets of Nairobi. And I found that this vendor was not in. He had rushed, I think, to the newspapers to pay for his copies for the next day. I was a very busy man in those days, running this exciting enterprise. But I looked at my schedule and I decided to wait for them. And then somebody, a very well-dressed burly man, walked up to see the same vendor. I recognized him immediately. It was Jimmi Wanjigi. And I immediately started sweating. You see, in my latest issue of that publication, I had done a front page story on Jimmi Wanjigi. It was, of course, not a flattering story. And so it started a conversation. He's a very social person, very social human being. By the way, I was not frightened because my story was not factual. No. Even in those days, I had started off my thorough research before I did any story, especially one as sensitive as this one was. And as we talked, Bwana Wanjigi started complaining about the front page on that publication. The splash, which focused on him. You know, those were the days of Kanu, Mama and Baba. And you didn't fool around with people who were close to the party. Yeah, it was very easy to end up 6 feet under. Oh, yes. And Bwana Wanjigi asked me a question. Yeah, he wanted to know if I had any idea how he could get hold of the publisher of that trashy publication. I told him I had no idea. Yeah, and by this time, I believe most of my body was wet with sweat. And I realized for my own safety, I would need to get away from there as soon as possible. Because had the vendor returned, then there was the possibility that Bwana Wanjigi would ask him, who is the one who distributes this publication to you? And of course they would point to me. They would look at me. And so after agreeing with Bwana Wanjigi how trashy these publications were, published by people who didn't know what they were doing, I quickly made my excuses and fled. Yeah, I walked away quickly. Now, there's a reason why I'm telling you that story. In those days, Bwana Wanjigi had already graduated from being a naive entrepreneur who wanted to get rich quick by running a company. Unfortunately, very sad, that is not the way it's done in Kenya. And he had graduated into doing big government contracts, where he came across very ruthless Kalenjins closely associated with Moi, who believed that the government of Kenya was their property, and all tenders and contracts would have to go to them. You know, the famous Kroll report commissioned by the Kibaki government revealed that an enterprise called Republic of Kenya had actually been registered out of the country and was busy doing transactions. Now, you know the legal implications of that, and indeed the financial implications. It meant that if somebody drew out a check to the Republic of Kenya, it was possible to bank the same check at that business entity, and it would clear. Oh yes, these people saw the government of Kenya as their personal property. Anyway, my point is that Bwana Wanjigi definitely had a set of skills that many did not have. First of all, to penetrate into this group so that they counted him as one of them. Yeah, and yet he was the wrong tribe. He is a Kikuyu. Being a Kikuyu during the Moi presidency, let me just leave it at that. My point is, you have to give credit where it's due. For somebody to be able to penetrate this closed society and to actually start making money, winning government tenders, was no mean feat. It was quite an achievement. And I had all this information at the time I met Bwana Wanjigi. And therefore I knew that for somebody with such powerful connections, dealing with me ruthlessly was very easy for Bwana Wanjigi, over the story I'd done about him. And the even more important point for today's purposes is the fact that this tells us a lot about the character of a man called Jimmi Wanjigi. Very intelligent, a schemer, a person able to penetrate places which many cannot penetrate. A man who can be ruthless if the situation demands that he's ruthless. Because this is a man who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. That's how you become a billionaire. Don't fool yourself. You don't become a billionaire by being a soft man. You become a billionaire by being a daredevil. You become a billionaire by thinking out of the box, taking a direction nobody else is taking, taking the path of least resistance and maximum profits, where you hardly have any competitors. Now, what that means, in case you have not yet realized it, is that Jimmi Wanjigi's decision to vie for the presidency is no small matter. This man does not get involved in deals or moves where he will not benefit. No. He has never done that all his life. Why should he start now? Bottom line, this is a presidential candidate we should take very, very seriously. The ODM nomination process is going to be very interesting. Let me give you a bombshell of a theory. I don't yet have enough evidence to support it. But I believe Jimmi Wanjigi will be in the next government as a deputy president. Let me just leave it there for now. Maybe I need to add something. I don't think Raila Odinga will be running, as I've said several times on this channel. But in case he's running, he's vying for the presidency, there's nothing stopping Raila Odinga from vying as an independent. Is there? And if he vies as an independent candidate, there's nothing wrong with having a Kikuyu deputy president who happens to be the ODM nominee. All those are wild theories and speculation. So relax. And those guys always stalking me, don't dare try and say, Chris, you said this would happen, it has not happened. Because I will just wacha nisiseme. It is a wild theory. So let's just leave it at that. I allow you. Don't even mention it if it actually comes to pass. Don't credit it to me. So now that we know Bwana Wanjigi a lot better than when we started the show, let us get down into the nitty-gritty. One of the most mind-boggling revelations Wanjigi made on the TV show Citizen TV was the fact that he's the one who birthed the idea of the SGR. And in his concept, there was going to be no public funds used. Taxpayers' money was never going to be used for this particular project. It was going to be a private sector, public sector investment project, where Wanjigi and his associates would profit from the lease on the land on which the SGR passed, which was extremely smart for many reasons. But one of the main points here is that Wanjigi would guarantee his profits. Because when you lease, you rent out something. The money, the income, is guaranteed. People have to pay rent. People have to pay leases on a regular basis. So that is huge continuous cash flow. As opposed to setting up a conventional enterprise where you're at the mercy of the customer. You're at the mercy of your employees on whether you'll make a profit or not. And then the financing from the project was going to come from the heavy users of transport of goods in Kenya, who are few, but amongst them, they transport tons of cargo from Mombasa to Malaba. That's the border with Uganda. Now here's the bombshell. Bwana Wanjigi had negotiated with Chinese contractors. And the railway line from Mombasa all the way to Malaba, past Nairobi, past Eldoret, etc., Nakuru, up to Malaba, would cost only 55 billion. When the Jubilee government took over the same project, the cost, we all know, of the line only between Mombasa and Nairobi was 300 billion, over 5 times the amount. That's not all. The extension of the line from Syokimau to a place near Naivasha, the extension of the line actually cost 185 billion. Total of 485 billion, which would not even reach Malaba, instead of 55 billion. Wah. Let that sink in. It means, if I can make it clear in black and white, that people made the difference, put it into pockets, people pocketed the difference between 485 billion and 55 billion. Twende tulie kwa choo. Now, who are these people? It is obvious that such a project would only have been sanctioned at the highest levels of government. And we know that one of the parties involved in this particular project is a man who is vying for the presidency in 2022, and many Kenyans like him and are ready to elect him into the presidency. One of the key figures who pulled off this major haste. I think we need to go back to Lie Kwacho. Read between the lines and fill in the gaps. And make your own correct conclusion. Yeah, which is very easy in this case. Yeah, very easy. Standard 2 staff. Because the main people involved were very few. Now I finish off this saga in my latest weekly intelligence briefings. Yeah, number 65. And we have a new offer. Yeah, to get details, just send a blank email to the email address you see on your screens right now. You'll get an instant automated response giving you payment details. Go for it and get this bombshell information. Now, for those who have liked this video, please remember to give me a like. And if you're not yet a subscriber, unangoja nini? Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.